I think we all remember the extremely popular mobile game titled Angry Birds. It was fun, addicting, and strategic. I have fond memories of all the different iterations that were released, but I don't think anybody was really expecting a movie to be released. Well, they made it. Angry Birds, the movie, released in 2016. I wasn't excited for this because already video game movies never do well. But even then, it was made by unknown directors and an animation company that I had never heard of, Rovio Animation. That sounds like a made-up company that was created to outsource the animation to someone else. So, I don't really know what to expect, and with the trailer, I expected even less, so I put it on hold. I didn't really want to go check it out. That was until the sequel showed up on the Sony Pictures animation filmography, which meant I had to review it for Patreon, which meant I should probably look at the one that started it all, I guess. Well, let's go back to the distant past of 2016 with The Angry Birds movie.
Directed by the team of Fergal Riley and Clay Cadis, this 2016 feature-length video game film has an all-star cast, animation that replicates the series it's based upon, and contains about every expected trope you'd find in a modern kid's flick. I'm trying my best to view this through a purely cinematic lens, but it's tough considering the franchise it spawned from. Angry Birds was a huge money-making success, one of the first real mobile games to make a giant impression on the industry. Before the movie came out, there was already merchandise and various shorts being released, so I'm already expecting the product that's being sold to me. It feels like a marketing tool, even though this came out a bit later than it should have. I remember Angry Birds being the biggest thing ever in high school, but it didn't feel as groundbreaking by the time it finally hit the big screen. But for video game standards, it felt pretty quick and on point. However, during its theatrical run, I just had no interest to seek this out. With the amount of animated productions, it was tough to keep up, especially when Disney had Zootopia and Moana, Pixar with The Good Dinosaur and Finding Dory, and don't forget Cubo. It was a packed year, but this movie was still a hit, big enough for a sequel to come out, which is why I'm stuck talking about this anyways. Why am I being so cynical? I didn't hate it, I just wasn't surprised by what I saw. With a cast of Josh Gad, Keegan-Michael Key, and Danny McBride, who, I don't know, I feel like these actors show up in everything, this was doomed to be yet another cheesy, obnoxious children's film. Jason Sudeikis plays Red, a bird with anger management problems, so he joins a group of other troubled birds to sort out things together, just as the pigs arrive on the island. This is the one bit of brilliance in the story. The pigs introduce themselves as an advanced species, and they introduce their culture and become friends with the birds while taking advantage of their resources. This could have been an interesting take on colonialism. It's just too bad that they can't focus on it enough. Instead, we mostly get Red, which, how do I explain this? You ever see the early version of Toy Story where Woody was so unlikable that the creators had to start over from scratch? Well, our hero of the story feels like Woody before he was fixed. This character is so despicable and rude, with a complex about the town hating him for no good reason, and it becomes really hard to watch. Even though he is awful, the citizens actually go overboard with their treatment of him, despite his own callousness. So, it becomes difficult to figure out who's more out of line. Are the townspeople just really that bad and that's why Red's a jerk, or is Red a jerk and that's why the townspeople are so bad? I'm not sure Red even learns anything in the end except to be a leader, because he helps the group on a journey to save the eggs from the treacherous pigs. The finale is the best part because it invokes a lot of the imagery from the game series and does it well, better than most video game adaptations. It leads to the best work for the animation crew, who takes advantage of the speed and obscure angles. It's just too bad the rest of the runtime can't be like this. The character designs are pretty hard to look at because they're trying to appear the way they did in the games, but when you start adding feet and hands, it just doesn't work as well. I'm not sure how you'd get around this, and it's certainly better than the Emoji Movie, but some of them just don't turn out well. Chuck looks good and so does Red, but Poppy and Big Red just don't fit the models they've been forced into. The voice acting actually works pretty well, especially Peter Dinklage as the Mighty Eagle, whose role in the story is not entirely original, but I enjoy it nonetheless. I just could have used less of the pissing jokes, but honestly a lot of the humor doesn't work. There's a bunch of puns, and there's this mime who does the same terrible one-liner over and over again. They must have thought this was hilarious because he even returns in the sequel. I mean, did they even watch a silent movie? There's a way to pull a joke like this off, and this isn't it. Sean Penn plays Big Red, who only has one line of dialogue, but for this stunt casting, it just doesn't play well. I don't think Sean Penn has the kind of notoriety to make for a funny cameo. Overall, it goes by quick enough, and it has just enough colorful splashes to make for a typical popcorn entertainment feature. It left my brain as soon as it entered, but people seemed to like it because the sequel was announced soon after. Do I recommend it? Sure, if you have kids, they will have fun, and there's a few good sequences, but don't expect it to compare to all the other good 2016 animated movies. And between this and the sequel, I probably lean towards the latter. I guess you'll just have to check out that review next. But until then, don't be angry because it happened. Smile because you've already forgotten about it.